The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are not necessarily representative of the coalition or any other entity. This content is intended for mature audiences only.
What is going on, people? Welcome to Throwdown Your Questions, episode 154. I'm your host, Tony Polanco, and I'm joined by Emilio Lopez.
Light in the black, or just the fear of the dark.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, what's up, everyone?
Carlos Romero.
It's Sunday, man. Tomorrow's Monday. That sucks.
Brian Manjoma.
I'm sorry for Friday, Carlos.
And Adam Vale.
A free Sunday.
All right, man. Brett will join us shortly. Now, Brian, you were referencing something that happened on Friday. Would you care to tell the people what that was about?
I think it's best that Carlos let the people know.
Yeah, Carlos, what happened? What did Brian do to you, man?
Most.
Yo, man. When I play racing simulators, I like to have a real experience. So this Friday we ended up playing GTA Online, playing a racing game. So I, as a civilized person, like to race without hitting anybody, without trashing people's cars, without causing a ruckus, essentially. But there's other people, I guess maybe it's a UK thing because they drive on the wrong side of the road.
Whoa.
Brian, our own Brian Manjoma, likes to ram people and send you flying to places that are outside of the map.
I'm pretty sure that you spawn out someone first, right?
Hey, man, accidents happen.
See, you can't be talking that shit because, right, you know who that person was, by the way, it was me. You spun my ass out. Then you started complaining about Brian doing the same shit to you. You know, one good turn deserves another, motherfucker.
Hey, if you guys want to see the replay of that, check out the video. It's from last Friday, GTA. Show's fun.
Yeah, man. So yeah, we are streaming for vengeance on the channel. Carlos, you did your first solo stream the other night. That was pretty interesting. Heroes of the Storm, but of course, Carlos had to get all fancy, try to stream at 1440p and shit, and the stream was choppy and shit.
Yeah, man. I don't know. First time
you gotta
streaming.
play on the level where everybody can enjoy.
Yeah, but the shit looked crisp.
Looks so clean, man.
Yeah.
Yo,
So
man,
yeah,
that shit look crispy.
Heroes of the Storm, Carlos's favorite game of this generation.
Which oh man, hey, that might change.
Uh-oh.
This year's bringing up some gems, man.
Yeah, but like purely on like the playing it tip, like if you put thousands of hours into a game, that may be your favorite, you know?
I mean, I eat more at McDonald's than I do at a gourmet restaurant.
Yeah.
That's an analogy I got to bring up.
That's a great point, actually, you know? All right, man. And Chris was doing his little stream earlier, and Manny was doing it. So we're all getting in there, man, getting dirty, you know? It's cool. And we may do a WWF one soon, Adam, maybe?
Yep. We're gonna do some of that. Mine's is sick though for people that know. I have my universe mode set up with just WWE, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, PWG. It's nuts. So you might see a bunch of guys that you don't know of and some that you do know of.
Nice. Hey, and there's Brett. What's going on, Brett?
Hello, everybody.
Perfect, because you haven't officially started yet. But yeah, now we can start. So let's get into it, man. First up, my man, G Megaforce 123. Both of his questions are about China, actually. So the first one is
Not the wrestler.
no, not the wrestler, the
She passed
country.
away.
Yeah, rest in
R.I.P.
peace. You know. All right. Nintendo is set to launch the Switch in China. Apparently, the PS4 and Xbox One were not a success in China, accounting for 1% of total game sales. Factors like being priced higher in Japan, only 1/10 of the available games being released due to strict laws, and release games usually being censored. Can Nintendo succeed in China? Most of their games are family friendly, meaning most of their games might not get banned or censored. Maybe portables will have more success in China than home consoles. So what do we think? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the thing is that Nintendo has been in China before.
And have they been
They
successful?
were
Have they been
they
successful
were
in China?
they were a license. They were essentially licensed through another company. So people in China are familiar with these games that are coming out there, and obviously a lot of those games came out in China. People have that know these games. So I think it'll do pretty well.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think, man?
I think when it comes, I think it's like the Star Wars situation in China. Where it's like you release Star Wars over there, like, yeah, Star Wars, it's the sequel to another series that wait you never saw before. Sorry. So I think it's just that, like, I think they're trusted over there. They might be a little bit more trusted because they had been in that market before. So I think it'll do better than Xbox and PlayStation.
Yeah,
Which
Chris.
would be
Yeah.
insane because if they're doing that shit over there, if they're blue ocean my ass, just sell it to China.
Yeah. Oh shit. Right, Chris. What do you say, man?
Oh, I honestly don't know because I don't know what I know. China's
Hey,
full
Chris,
of,
you're coming in a little low, man.
Yeah.
I know that China's full of bootleg consoles and things like that. Like, remember, they're manufacturing every system that is made right now, and they kind of make knockoffs and stuff. So I don't know if they have not already been exposed to Switch games through some knockoff product or something, So I'm not sure how successful the Switch will be over there. Like, I honestly can't speak to it. I have no idea. Like, I would think they would have the same amount of success as Sony and Microsoft, which is not too much.
Hmm.
I wouldn't count on their market. Bringing a huge amount of sales, probably very little.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. Chinese markets I have absolutely no idea about. So who knows? Yeah, do they have knockoff switches over there?
They have knockoff PS4s and Xbox, so they might.
Yeah,
I think it's a guarantee they do have that because I guess that's unfortunately that's kind of what they're famous for with electronics that are like when they imitate iPhones, they have iPhone imitations, they have Nintendo console imitations. I haven't seen a Switch one yet, but it's probably coming or it's probably already there. So I don't know. As far as the success of the Switch in China, I'm not too educated on China economics when it comes to the gaming industry to say whether I think it'll sell or not. So I'm not too sure.
yeah. I honestly don't have any input on this. I have no idea how Chinese markets work. Anybody else want to jump in on this? All right, we'll take that as a no.
Nope. No idea.
Negative.
All right, so we'll move on to the next question. Okay, some time ago, China passed a law requiring game developers to disclose the probabilities for virtual items such as loot boxes and card packs. Should Western developers hold these practices to gambling law standards? I guess he's talking about loot boxes. I'm a little confused by the question here, to be honest. Does he mean that that Chinese games require them to say, "Hey, this is a gambling game"?
They have on the website where it'll post the who won, like how many were actually sold. So let's say if there's a supercar, right? Let's say you're playing a car game and it's like, oh, in the loot box you're gonna get the supercar. They're required. These manufacturers of the games are required by law to post up on a website how many they actually gave out. So it was like, oh, for the month of May or whatever, 20 people wound up getting the car. So then that way you know your probability because there was only 20 that were given out, that type of thing. So they're saying right now there's no standards here in the States. So we don't know if anybody's finding any of the shit they say. Best example of, and then FIFA, they have these legend players like Pele and stuff. I've played hours for years. I've never found one of those in any packs. But I'm sure somebody somewhere has, but no one knows. You know what I mean? So it's like it would basically tell EA that they're required on their website, the same website that they post all their new FUT stuff. Like, hey, last month the following people or whatever, or these are certain amounts that we gave out. Verifying that they actually are in packs, and it's not just blowing smoke up someone's ass saying that you're going to win and stuff when you're really never going to get it.
Yeah. So you think Western developers should be mandated to do that too?
I think some. I think it does. Yeah, like the best example was what I just said with Pele. I mean, I had a bunch of, especially on Xbox, a bunch of guys that played FIFA with, and nobody, especially with Ultimate Team, nobody ever got any of those legend players. So I don't know how you would get one or the whole process. Yeah, if they would have posted, then that way we get an idea of how many were actually issued out per month, and the probability. Because I mean, we were never getting them. We would open up packs all the time. So maybe, but I heard that the UK is doing some whole investigation or something on the whole loot box scandal. They might be passing some weird laws about that. So
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a way to keep developers honest, I guess, because
yeah,
it's quite possible they could be false advertisement. Like it's like, oh, like Adam said, like the Pele FIFA Ultimate Team kind of thing. It's like you don't know if people are getting this thing. They
Whoa.
could be they could be advertising it, but it's possible that people are not getting it, or they could be really stingy with those kinds of prizes.
Mhm.
So I think some sort of audit trail would be pretty interesting.
Yeah, I guess I'll go along with you guys. I really don't have an opinion on this one way or another, to be honest.
Here- My
Sure.
my question is, why would they be super stingy with items that, like, I understand when people pull that, like when they're giving away a Porsche, but when they're giving away a digital Porsche, which costs them nothing to manufacture, it seems like a weird thing to be stingy about, unless you're trying to balance your ecosystem. Like, I get the idea that you can't give everybody a legendary player, otherwise it's not, legendary anymore. But it's weird to be stingy to the point where you don't know if these things are real or not.
Yeah.
I get it with the whole, like, oh, did anybody ever actually win that Ferrari, or how many Xboxes are they really giving away? Like, I can understand some of the skepticism there, but like it's weird that we're even having to have this conversation about items that intrinsically have no real world value beyond what they the
Yeah, no,
demand
but
for them
it's all
is.
about people putting in real world money to get these items and
It's
not ever getting it.
it's part of the advertisement. That's the thing.
Yeah, but you'd think that some people would get them, and then when they post on Facebook and Twitter and be like, oh my fucking god, I got the most badass legendary car, or I got this, the secret legendary character kind of thing, and that would be kind of mimetic or viral or something like that. Like, you feed that shit to Reddit, and they would eat it up, and then people would be like, oh my god, you can't actually get it. The fact that we're talking about this thing like it's fucking Bigfoot is weird to me. Like,
Carlos, you said, remember, we talked about this. You've seen those unpacking videos, right? That people were doing on foot.
Yeah.
You ever see anybody get any of those legendary players?
Nope.
That's what I'm talking about. And these people are spending like $100 real world money and then just unloading and unpacking
Well,
pack after pack after pack.
their whole livelihood is unpacking these things.
Yeah,
Like, that's what they do for a living.
what they do. And I've watched so many of those and I've never seen anybody, and I watch them live, never seen anybody say, oh, wow, look, I just got a legendary player.
Yeah, because it seems like it's something, like, because you said it's like it's a digital prize, but for example, FIFA Ultimate Team is, in order to get that prize, you need to put in money.
Yeah.
It's a lottery system, and it's something that if someone is advertising a certain thing and they're pretty stingy where they just limit it to one person getting it ever, just so someone can say that they got it, and not like having an actual lottery or whatever, is kind of
what's the incentive for creating that much scarcity? It would be my question. Like, limiting them to, like, the top one to 1% of your player base, sure, but limiting it to just one player.
well, yeah, I mean, it's something that people want to get. Like, it makes the item even more, like, make people want to get it more, like, as compared to previously. If it's not rare, then people wouldn't really care for it.
Oh no, I know. I just figured there'd be a bell curve to that kind of thing, where something becomes so weirdly exclusively rare that it's almost unheard of, that and people stop trying to get it. It's there's some magic cards like that. Like, there were only, like, 4 made or whatever the fuck, and like nobody's trying to get those. Like, my chances are better of being hit by a meteor than of getting this thing, and people kind of realize that, and so it kind of tempers itself to the whole, like, if you get it, that's amazing, but you shouldn't ever expect to get this card in a pack, and even if you did, you wouldn't use it, you'd sell it.
But the discussion is not increasing the probability of the
Notifying people that it happened.
Yeah, it's just adding traceability to the whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like,
Oh no no
oh,
no no! I get that. I'm just saying I don't understand. I still don't get the motive behind if they were fleecing people. Like if they were only, like you had said, like the legendary players. Like if they only actually gave out fucking 4 of them, I would have to look at the company doing this and be like, why the fuck would you do that?
Yeah.
Like maybe add 500, add it. Give 0.5% of the player base this custom player so that it's still out there. You still run into them every once in a while. It's not a figment of our imagination. We know it exists. Some people have gotten it, but don't make it rare to the point where it almost seems like an actual legend. That just seems counterproductive.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it off there and move on to the next questions by Mr. Black Metal Gamer. So his first, this is a very interesting question too. What gaming franchises would you say had no duds? Every single game in that franchise is hot, or at least
No.
good. This is a tough one because every franchise has that at least that one dud.
oh, it's not tough, man. It's Uncharted. No duds. No
Uncharted 3.
duds.
Yeah, you know what? Even Uncharted 3 was still good. Even Golden
Even the
Abyss.
PSP game or
Yeah,
the PS game. Sorry.
yeah. You know what? Yeah, Carlos, man, you're not making a good case for this not being the pony cast.
Oh shit.
Fuck.
Let me think of an Xbox One. Cuphead. Cuphead as a
yeah.
game.
Franchise, you gotta have at least 2 games, man. Yeah. Wow. Uncharted never even came to mind. Because
Lost Legacy is good.
I wanted to say Metal Gear Solid, but that 5 I liked it, but there were issues with it.
I mean, some would say 2 had a lot of issues
Yeah.
with 2.
Yeah, that is true. Although some people would say that game's a masterpiece.
Well, now they say it's a masterpiece because hindsight is so fucking 2020. But most people are just like that game was not anything.
Yeah.
And the game, in fact, affected the game after it.
Yeah, that is true.
You
Yeah.
know, Metal Gear Solid 5 is considered a fan favorite, but that game initially did not.
Metal Gear Solid 3. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 did not do as good as 2.
Yeah, because
Not
of
by
2.
a long
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
But Manny, since you're talking, what franchise do you think has absolutely no duds? All the games are good.
Franchise that has absolutely no duds. Super Mario Brothers.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Like the core one. Yeah, yeah.
Most Super Mario Brothers games are good.
Well, that's most.
Like in the numbered ones, they're all good. And even if you split them apart into the galaxies and worlds of those franchises, those have also all been good. So
Yeah.
Actually, I'll make the case. Oh no, there is. So
Uh-oh.
this is interesting. I don't think Halo has ever had a dud, but then
What about 5, man? People are going to come after you with 5, bro.
5 wasn't that bad. I haven't finished it yet though, so I can't really say.
yeah, well, that must be not that great if you didn't
Yeah.
finish it.
I mean, I haven't finished Uncharted 4 either, but
Yo, man, that game's not good either.
I got one. Rayman. There's not a bad Rayman game.
The 3D Rayman with the rabbits in it, that one was pretty shitty.
No, I'm not talking about that. The
you're
core
talking
one,
about the
not
main
the
main
rabbits,
core
not the
one?
rabbits. I'm
Nope,
talking about the core
nope.
one.
If it lent its likeness or characters to a franchise, it counts.
Really?
So you're saying spin-offs count?
Oh, spin-offs definitely count. You can't.
That's not fair.
You can't whore your character out to every fucking franchise that's going to buy it and make a bad game and say like, "Oh, it's not their fault." Yes, it fucking is.
So then Mario wouldn't count.
So Mario wouldn't count because Dr. Mario, all that other Mario and Sonic.
Dr.
Mario was
Mario
a good game.
Mario,
Super Mario Run.
Super Mario.
I don't know.
Run.
I might discount Super Mario Run because it's not a console.
No,
game.
Because
you can't. You
because you're
can't do
moving the
that.
goalpost.
Yeah, you're moving the goalpost. You have to count all of them. So
Okay, I guess that's fair. I just
See,
I don't
this
count.
happens. That's happens when you got out of the main core. When you leave the main core franchise, you get into these pit holes and shit.
Well, it puts a different spin on the question because there's a lot of the successful franchises. Mario's a good example. They don't take risks with Mario mainline franchises, but they definitely take risks with Mario games. They'll put them in anything.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to stick it to the main franchises of each. Whatever we're talking about. You know what I mean?
I think it's a better question though if you include spin-offs. That makes it a harder criteria to fill.
Then no franchise in history would fill this.
Oh, there is one. Chris knows what I'm gonna say.
Oh God, it's gonna be Dark Souls, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gonna be Dark Souls.
Oh, come on. Dark Souls 2.
Yeah,
Shut
Dark
your
Souls
face.
2 was
I've
shit,
had this
bro.
conversation
Shut
with
your
people.
face with that. Come on.
Objectively, Dark Souls 2 is still an awesome game. It just doesn't
It's
live up
still
to
an
the other
awesome
one.
game, but it's not as good as the other ones. In
But I
fact, they
wouldn't count it
But
a
it's
dud.
not a dud.
It's not a dud.
Well, I mean, the thing is in that, well, okay, if you're going to start saying which ones are duds, I mean, every single fucking Mario game did well.
That's not a qualification for a dud.
Well,
It's well received, reviewed well. Usually anything that's well liked, it doesn't matter if it's a top seller, right? I don't believe that's the metric for good because Madden sells fantastic, and I would
and
consider
it
all
gets
of them
wonderful
duds.
ratings.
You know, so you know, so I'll agree with that. The Souls games,
The Call of Duty
consistently.
franchise.
No.
Then
No,
you say
that is a
Space of Duty didn't
yeah,
do it.
yeah. Infinite Warfare and Advanced Warfare would.
Space of Duty.
I'd say Fallout too. I can't think of for those that like
Fallout. Yeah,
Fallout.
Fallout. Yeah.
Yeah, Fallout. Yeah, I'll say that.
What
It's a
about
war for me.
Yeah, what about New Vegas?
Oh, New Vegas is good.
Okay.
Yeah, New Vegas is awesome.
Yeah, people love New Vegas.
Okay, so I guess that one counts.
Despite the mind warping glitches that thing had.
Yeah. Some
But,
people would say that entire franchise is a dud. That everything comes out of that studio is a dud because it's horribly buggy and glitchy. And yeah, they're not known for being unglitchy games. I will give them that.
But I think
Shanatsky says Grand Theft Auto, but I don't know about those first two Grand Theft Autos, man.
Oh, those were fun though, running around.
At the time they were especially. It's just when they reinvented it so well that became the new standard and it dwarfed the previous standards. But
the second one was crap though compared to the first one. Like
no, that's right. Yeah, no, you're right.
Second one's a dud. Yeah.
Is that the one where they go into the Miami-ish place? Like, I mean, I know they designed a bunch of something.
No, the first game you went to all three cities.
Yeah.
Also
By the
all
way,
three cities.
Kyle says that Vegas was the glitchy one. They're all the glitchy one in
They're all the
glitchy
glitchy one.
They're all that no.
It's still
Vegas
glitchy.
Vegas was glitchier. It's the more expansive they get, the more glitchy they get. So it's kind of
the
why you don't
thing
hear
about
people bitching that much.
Yeah.
the thing about New Vegas is that unlike all the other Fallout games, that game literally started glitching as soon as you got into the first cinematic. Like people's
Shit.
heads started twirling
Yep.
around. And all
Yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff.
Sorry, I
Like,
remember
at
that.
least you needed to play a little bit further in the other games for stuff to start fucking freaking out and stuff.
Yeah, but then people will counter with it's also the only one of the mainline franchise games where you can actually like choose your own story and affect the story of the greater wasteland by turning factions. Like it's got a really intricate factions. Like it is the most probably in-depth Fallout game as well as the glitchiest. And I think that's why like you hear people bitching about the glitchiness of the Fallout or any Bethesda game really, but it's kind of goes hand in hand with the more expansive it is, the harder it is or the easier it is to break the fucking game. And so you're kind of getting a lot of sugar with some salt on it. And so you kind of just take the salt. And if somebody could come out and make a Bethesda game that didn't have glitches, like, oh man.
I mean, I just want to put it in the record. Oh,
Go ahead.
I've played like the past 3 Fallouts on Xbox 360 and on PC, and I've had glitches and they're around, but they've never deterred from the experience for me.
They're not big game breaking ones. They're just stupid, weird little ones. Like for instance, in my Fallout settlement, it reminds me of A Million Ways to Die in the West and his sheep. Like my settlers are fucking stupid. I'll find one in the whorehouse. I'll find one on the roof. Like they just walk into walls. Like it's a weird kind of charming. Like pathfinding is off, or somebody will say something weird, or their lips will stop moving. But the main core points of the game don't really. And somebody's going to jump in and correct me and be like, my save got corrupted or my game constantly crashed, or point out exactly where I'm wrong, and I'm sure I am. But for the most part, the average player experience is not game breaking as much as ranging from mildly amusing to slightly frustrating.
Yeah, by the way, D-Truth, you're my boy, but I got to call you out on this one. He says the God of War franchise has no duds.
God of War Ascension.
Ascension?
God of War Ascension, man. That's all I need to say about that. Shinati also says Igavania games. Actually, not every Igavania game has been good. And also, I think it was somebody said Skyrim. Skyrim is not a franchise. You're talking about the Elder Scrolls, man.
Yeah, Elder Scrolls is a franchise.
You know,
It depends on that one. Like Morrowind was the first one to be majorly released on consoles. I honestly didn't play the ones before that. They strike me as being very niche in the sense that you get what you sign up for. Huge open environments, with all the good and bad that entails. But I can't tell you Morrowind was good. Would Oblivion count as a dud? I mean, I know it's the worst of the franchise, but it was still a pretty solid game.
Oblivion was a shit, man. But you have to include Elder Scrolls Online into that.
Oh, you do, and that ruins it.
Yeah, there you go. By the way, Chris Cobra says Final Fantasy, dude. There's been duds in that franchise.
Whoa.
Yes.
There's been a lot of duds in that one, bro.
Interesting.
Did you not play 8?
Yeah, I was about to say
God.
8.
Oh.
8 was the first like real dud in that shit, man.
Yeah.
Well, there's some earlier duds.
And then 13.
Hey,
Oh.
don't hate.
By 13,
and the online game.
Oh yeah, both of them.
11.
You know. Yeah.
Oh,
But
11,
by
yeah.
13, you already had the taste of ass in your mouth. Like 8 was like being served a nice, delicious steak with 7, and you're like, I could have some more of that, and they bring you out a shit sandwich, and you don't know until you're like 2 bites of the first bite. You're like, the fuck is wrong with this? And the second bite, you're like, oh my god, there's something really terribly wrong with this. I hate 8 if you can't tell.
Yeah, 8. Well, we're not gonna get into that. Right? 8. Oh, yeah.
It was just so much worse than 7.
It was.
I mean,
it was bad.
Oh
dude.
yeah.
It was bad. All right, let's move on, man.
Oh wait, I didn't.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead. We were here for so long. I thought everybody went.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Chris.
I went with the safe choice. I was like Tetris.
Yeah, right. There's a good one.
No, that's Tetris Blast. Come on now.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that. What about you, Carl? Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
The Witcher.
Gears of War. Oh, no, there we go. See, nobody went on this. I think nobody answered this. Tony.
Nobody answered this shit. All right, so go ahead, Adam, and then Brian.
Gears of War for me. Gears of War, even with the spinoff.
Even with Judgment?
There was Judgment, because there was a lot of things from Judgment that carried over into the new Gears of War. The whole setting up, different weaponries and setting up the fencing and turrets. That all came from Judgment. And Judgment had a good storyline. Yeah, it strayed a little bit, but it was still fun. I played it. I enjoyed it. It was still Gears. It wasn't different.
Yeah, I mean, these aren't objective no duds, so it's personal ones. Brian, go ahead.
Witcher 1, 2, and 3, all great games.
All right, and Carlos, did you go?
I went, but I got one to mention, StarCraft.
Okay, that's fair.
Dragon Age.
What about Dragon
2, Dragon Age 2, bro?
I finally gave in. Fuck all of you.
Okay.
Oh.
Yes, but no, I don't want to say that any of them, like, if they were your thing, they were your thing, but I wouldn't say any of the Dragon Age games were duds.
Actually, no. Okay, me personally, I haven't had a dud in that. Actually, it is personal. Fair enough. I'll go with that because I did. Dragon Age 2. Here's the weird thing about Dragon Age 2. The first half of it annoyed me, but I felt the second half redeemed the first half. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that one. That was a good one. And then obviously Dragon Age Inquisition brought those series back to what it's supposed to be.
Origin was awesome.
Origin was great. Yeah, that was a great game.
I mean, 2 is the weakest of the bunch, but I think kind of like Dark Souls, like it's still a weak game compared to the other ones. But if you had never played Origins, you'd be like, this is a great fucking game. And they made a lot of changes that carried over to 3, and they made a lot of changes that they undid for 3. So I'd call that progress, but I don't think that's part of the question.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else want to go? Because again, this is a weird kind of question, but it's a good one. All right.
It's a hard one.
Yeah, it's definitely tough. All right.
But how about Pokemon? Was there any duds?
Yeah, somebody said Pokemon in the chat. I think Miguel said it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Maybe.
I thought I remember some people being pissy about. I don't think this last generation, but the generation before Pokemon. But I don't really know.
Well, I know there's like Snap. If we're doing spin-offs, like there's games that.
If you include spin-offs,
is that the one where Pikachu is watching TV? Which one was that one?
So we
Snap
take
was
pictures.
you're the photographer.
Oh,
You're on Rails
God.
and you just take pictures. It was on Nintendo 64.
Oh, fuck
It took
that.
the most boring parts of arcade games and makes it look
Yes.
the most boring parts of non-arcade games.
Wait,
Barry
Chris,
Barry Burns says Katamari Damacy's never had a dud.
Oh, that's true.
That
That's
is true. That
true.
is true.
Chris,
You
did you
know?
like Pokemon Stadium?
I never played that one.
Oh, okay. No
Was
wonder
that on
you.
GameCube?
It was on N64.
Oh no, I never played that one.
I didn't really like it.
I was just throwing it out there. I was thinking, but I keep thinking of the main franchise. But if you count all the spin-offs, then yeah, there's duds. So it's all over the place.
Yeah. All right, man. Next question here. This is an interesting one too. Do you think that all of the? Oh, well, my bad. I was skipping ahead. Okay. Are there any games you replay every year for the sake of tradition? For example, every Halloween I play old Resident Evil games, and I also revisit Punch Out to fight Tyson. Very interesting.
Okay. Man.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go first. I
89.
it's very rare I go back to play old games. I always have to keep up with the new shit. So yeah, I don't really go back to play old games. Like I would like to. Don't get me wrong, but I can't really do that. So no for me. Manny, what about you?
Old games I've gone back to.
That you go back to like for tradition or annually or whatever. Like it's that time of year. I'm gonna play this now.
No, I've never done an annual game playthrough. It's usually just kind of go in and play the if there's a re-release, I'll play that again. But I mean, other than that, there's no real annual thing. But I do still keep some of my older games out just in case I have that urge to play them. Because sometimes I don't feel like playing a narrative sort of game. Like maybe like a fighting game or something like that, and I don't want to deal with all the like, the world is destroyed, and you must watch us talk for about an hour. So it's like nice to, hey, I'm gonna just beat the shit out of something for a little bit. But yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, we're getting a couple ones here. Shout out to Deathstrike, who's also hosting us on Mixer currently. Very cool.
Mixer.
So he says he replays Jedi Knight, Dark Forces 2, and of course Unreal Tournament 2004. That's his main game. And Shinazi says Parasite Eve, Metal Gear Solid 1, and Chrono Trigger. All right.
I beat Parasite Eve into the ground. I went to the stupid at the Chrysler Building. We had like 100 floors of terror.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, Chris. What about you, man?
Nah, I don't have time. I'm with you. I have the same exact answer.
Yeah.
There's so much new shit to play. Like, nah.
Yeah, you
I haven't.
can't go
If
back.
I've never done that, I don't even remember the last time I did it.
Yeah. Kal says he goes back to Splinter Cells, Ninja Gaiden, Halo, Shenmue, Jedi Outcast. Yeah, you're playing a lot of old games, bro, and Max Payne.
You play all those yearly?
Hey, that's what he does, apparently. Shit. When do you have time
Damn.
for new games, bro? Shit. Carlos, man, what about you?
Same thing. I know it's the same boring answer, but we haven't. I mean, I don't go back to play old games. I'm already done with them. Unless it's like GTA, I guess that might be an
Yeah,
exception.
right. Shit. Brian.
No, don't have any because I just play whatever I want, and once I play the game and I'm done with it, then I'm done with it.
Yeah, that seems to be the recurring answer here. Brett.
Same.
All right, and Adam.
As you know, I walk around a lot with my Game Boy 89, and so I play Bionic Commando and Tetris for Tetris every year on this one. So,
Do you play it on a specific day?
nope, I just play it every year. Every year I have to like take out something old and play it just to, I don't know why, just nostalgia.
There's franchises and games that I play every year. Like, well, no, like
Like as
I
a
know
tradition,
well, like no, I know everybody's gonna say like, oh, Dark Souls, but like it's like at least once a year, if a new Dark Souls game hasn't come out, I will revisit the old one just because I'll feel that way. And I'm pretty sure Fallout's gonna be the same kind of thing for personal reasons, just because this is a big game Rachel and I shared, so I'll probably go back and revisit that game because it holds a lot of sentimental value for me now that I've actually been able to get back into it.
Nice.
But that kind of goes for, I've always done that with Fallout games anyway. So just because Fallout 4 is the exception that I may come back to this specific iteration over and over again, I don't think that there's been a year that's gone by that I haven't cracked out and dusted off my copy of Fallout.
Shanati says you need to start playing Demon Souls, man.
I'm waiting for that goddamn remake.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
it has not aged well. I'm still tempted to. If I get a solid no, we are not making a remake, I'm gonna bite that bullet. But I feel it coming down the pipes, man. I feel it. It's got to be coming.
All right, so just so people know, you're not against playing a game. You just want to play it on newer shit, you know?
It's just that the graphics haven't aged real well with Demon Souls, and if given the choice, I would prefer to play a more polished version of it. And this is assuming that you still have the core team of From Software, who I believe in their ability to produce a good game. So, I'm not saying like hand it off to another studio or anything like that, but I have confidence if they remade it, it would be a quality and true remake. And if they added anything, it would be stuff that they wanted to add before but weren't able to.
Nice. Yeah, Kella, when do you have time to play new games? He's like Gun Griffin, Wild Arms. Like, dude.
Whoa.
Yeah. Deathstrike says also Pokemon Red and Heroes of Might and Magic 3. Very interesting.
Oh, that was a good game. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good game. All right. I think we got everyone here, so let's move on to Mr. Hash Slingin' Slasher, who went back to his original name. All right.
What?
Both of his questions are about AAA games because he doesn't like them anymore, or I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, so his first one is, are AAA... This is a question he asked us like a couple weeks ago, but it was like a leftover question. I threw it in this week. Okay, are AAA games setting a bad example by having microtransactions even though they're already full price?
The sad thing about that question, about that in general, is all this shit was done for smaller games.
Yes.
A lot of these games were indie games. So, if anything, this has taught the big guys that these sorts of tactics work.
I'm glad you bring that up because everybody thinks like AAA games are the ones started. No. It was mobile games that started this shit, you know?
Yeah, mobile games, Angry Birds, all those games,
Candy
Crush,
all that.
All that shit. All those games they started this on a smaller level. And when the big guys saw it, they said, "Oh, wait a minute. We can kind of get these people hooked on this shit. Fuck yeah, let's do that. Let's lock everything. Their thing is the thing that's purely AAA is locking content. It's like, okay, we can get, we have this thing where we can add new things to the game. How about we just automatically chop out the specific content and get them to pay for it later in a few months?
Yeah. So you should really say are mobile games setting a bad example?
Yeah, the answer is yes.
Yes, they are. Yes, they certainly are.
And again, you got to remember, these mobile games are made by little independent studios. They're doing this,
Yeah.
To like 10 people, maybe less, 5 people.
I would say that some AAA studios are doing a great job. It's the whole reason I jumped back into Fallout that I'm currently replaying is because I walked away for a little bit and holy fuck, there's a lot of DLC. Like, I think something a lot of people should pay attention to, and maybe Brian will back me up on this because PC gamers seem to have gotten this memo a long time ago. There's an hour to dollar ratio that I think the magic number tends to be around $1 an hour. If you put in X amount of hours per game, it doesn't matter if the game costs $30, $60, $90. Like, if you've played a game for 1,500 hours, a lot of times you as a consumer, or a lot of people that I know, love that content and the developer who made that content so much that they are not just willing to, but want to give the developer more money. I've played games where I've paid, gotten something on a Steam sale and played it for like 200 or 300 hours and felt like I need to give this developer more money, so I'll buy a copy for a friend. So I think something console gamers don't get that PC gamers have gotten a while ago is, it's more about the amount of hours and the amount of time and enjoyment that you get out of it than anything else. And if the DLC is essentially a wall to block you off from the things that you enjoy of the game, that's one thing. But if it's a road to additional content because you enjoy the game so much, then that's a completely different thing.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else want to jump in on this?
Yeah, it's kind of sad too because AAA games, I mean, they should be trendsetters. They should be like they should think of other ways to make a profit. Like, and it's sad because it's all like these kinds of things. You like they make those games look like the only reason they exist are for profits. Like, well, we know that every game is supposed to sell and make a profit, but sometimes people have visions about experiences, but it looks like this is getting impeded by loot boxes and stuff like that. That's
Dude, the thing is about it is that AAA games were trendsetters when there was only like 10 people or 5 people, really small teams, when it was just grassroots guys putting these games together. When the game started taking $1 billion to make, obviously these guys are not going to take any sort of chances.
I mean, Metal Gear is a franchise that I think has. Are you gonna say?
I think Metal Gear is kind of a unique situation.
I don't think so.
Especially, I
Bioshock.
think I think well, did BioShock do much? Do much?
Well, that's just
That
one
was
game in a
it
whole
was
franchise.
essentially recreate.
That was a different developer.
It was also it was a different developer. Not to mention, by the way, the guys who make BioShock, their company doesn't exist after BioShock Infinite. So
I mean, Fallout is a franchise that I think is a trendsetter and is done good for the industry. Like, and it's a
is there
huge game
that
with.
much of a difference between this Fallout and the last Fallout?
No,
Yes.
not really. It's basically
Oh my
the same
God.
fucking. It's basically the same fucking game.
No.
Yeah.
No. I will argue
yeah,
that.
Yeah, I know. I know what you're gonna say. Oh, you could build shit, but if you take that away, it's the same game, dude. There's not really a much
Yeah,
of a
if you
difference.
take that away, but that is a
Yeah.
whole other game that
Yeah.
is hundreds of hours of content to many, many people. I get it.
And
Maybe
Yeah, and
also-
to many
also
many
the-
people, they never touch that stuff. You know.
And also,
Yeah.
the people that don't touch that sort of thing. But the thing is, yes, it's they within the structure that people with the familiar Fallout structure or the familiar Bethesda structure, they put in this new thing. But let's
Dude,
say
even the
that,
familiar
that
Bethesda
let's say that was the actual game. And it didn't say Fallout on it.
Yeah.
I don't think that portion of gameplay would do as well on its own if it wasn't sitting in something that people already recognize.
I agree with that.
I think 4 DLCs specifically geared towards settlement building would disagree with you.
Yeah,
They
but
don't put
again,
that
that's
much-
because
But
it's
the
a
thing is
Fallout,
that people
dude.
are already.
Yeah.
The thing is that already people are already signed up. They
Yeah, but you can say that about
it's within a franchise that they recognize, and it's the thing is, I think that if we're gonna usually Revolution doesn't come from established franchises.
Okay, well, let's.
All these things come from Revolution. Usually comes with something new, totally new.
All right.
Yes,
well, let's.
you have one guy that it's like, okay, they added this one thing, okay, so that's fine. But the thing is that
Fallout
for the
3.
most part, for the most Fallout 3 was
Fallout 3.
Fallout 2 to 3. How many years was it between Fallout 2 to 3?
Oh God, I don't even know.
It was a long time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was the thing is that what was the thing is that it was at the point where they could reinvent the wheel because it was just so long. People only remembered the word Fallout.
They
They
didn't
barely
they didn't
remembered the damn
reinvent the
game.
wheel. They didn't reinvent the wheel. Bethesda bought the rights to it and made a new game.
It's like how the new Tomb Raider seems to work right now.
But here's a good example.
But it's not
Bungie
really. Go ahead.
Bungie first they did Halo 1, which was something that was kind of new in the console sphere. And Halo 2 even blew that shit out of the water. They reinvented the wheel with Halo 2 with online clans, online play, group like chats where you can have 8 or 16 people. Was it 8 or 16? Like in the game, and you can chat all with each other. And then Halo 3 reinvented the wheel as well with Forge and online co-op. Like, and that's a huge ass studio, and that franchise was the biggest franchise out there. So you can reinvent the wheel when you're an established company with an established franchise. It's sometimes when you have a lot of money to spend, you can provide experiences that no one else can do. And these loot box experiences, we see that mobile games do it.
Yeah. By the way, Deathstrike says that was safe for Halo franchise too. They already borrowed heavily from Unreal Tournament and Quake. Good point.
Well,
Like
The
what?
thing is,
Anyway, by the way,
what?
we're kind of getting away from the original question. We got far away from the original
yeah,
question.
we're really just talking about what he's asking. Why don't they, why don't they?
No, that wasn't the question. The question was like, are AAA games setting a bad example with microtransactions? That was the original
I don't.
question.
I mean, the thing is, I just feel like AAA is just doing what everybody else is doing. And if these other aspects actually went out and decided to do some other new way of thinking, then they would also follow suit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All
I
right,
feel
man.
like, I feel
Yeah.
like
I think
in a
I think
fair
that I
part
think
now.
I think the reason why AAA studios, we're seeing a lot of the same fare. We're seeing everybody creating loot boxes. We see everybody creating clones of PUBG or whatever, right? Is because these things have established themselves as things that work, and then they're like, oh wait, these things work. Wow, all right, let's do the same fucking thing.
Yeah, but then they're going to abuse it to the point of pure exploitation. I think we've hit that critical mass, dude. Even Kotaku, and you can hear my disdain here. I don't care if you note my bias. Even Kotaku came out with an article about why Battlefront's loot crates are bad for everyone.
Yeah, I remember that.
When you get to that point, when the Fox News of video game journalism is saying something is bad for the consumer, I mean, Kotaku was bought and sold a long fucking time ago. They don't give a fuck about the consumer. And if they're putting out this kind of
IGN
article,
now.
ooh,
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to get to the next question. It's still about AAA. The more important question he's asking. Okay, do you think that all these crappy business practices from AAA publishers will lead to another gaming crash?
No.
yes.
No, I don't think so. Gaming is too fucking healthy right now, dude. I know there's a whole thing of like, too big to fail and maybe something will make it crash, but I don't think, microtransactions and any of that shit is going to make the trip, these things crash. It'll be something else completely,
Yeah, I
Well,
think only an external force would cause that. But
Yeah,
what
yeah,
they're
like
doing right
government
now,
intervention,
yeah, there's too much momentum. Yeah, that's what they're trying to avoid. Nobody wants government. If they step in like, oh, fuck the ESRB, we're going to do this.
Yeah,
Forget it.
then it's
That would
over.
be
Then
shit.
it's over. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's too much money.
yeah.
I'm sorry, Brett, I keep cutting you up, but I just read something about how once again the gaming industry has made way more money than fucking movies and music and all this other shit. So I don't think we're in danger of another crash. But like Chris said, it's gonna have to be an external force that's gonna do it. It's not gonna be anything internal like that. You know what I'm saying? Especially now microtransactions. Again, we don't like them, right? But most people are happy to pay 99 cents for fucking armor or whatever. Anyway, go ahead, Brett.
To a point. I want to clear up. I don't think that we're going to have like gaming as a whole crash. Like it's a very simple formula of there has been a market that has been shown to produce billions of dollars. Unless we go to some sort of like weird communism, you're not going to be able to stop people from somebody struck oil and now you're asking like, oh, are we ever going to stop pumping it? Like, no, not as long as there's oil, not as long as there's billions of dollars being made. And honestly, it's an emergent medium, something that interactive art is still relatively new in its infancy compared to cinema and books and things like that. So it's going to continue to evolve rapidly, and as it does, it's going to gain more mass appeal as people are born and raised with it. You're going to see a cultural saturation of video games one day that is almost 100%. The kind of the way that just about everybody watches TV. Eventually, it'll be just about everybody plays video games because the market will continue to expand and like tree roots, seek out new resources, seek out new niche markets, things like that, until it's able to accommodate everybody. So I think you will never see gaming crash. You will only see it grow by the nature of it. Now, you will see trends in gaming crash. You will see franchises and developers and things like that crash and burn. And I think you may see that if people keep up with this practice, because yes, there will be a tipping point where gamers say we've had enough and these games just bomb. And I bet we've seen it before, like Prey, like any game. Eh, you
No, I agree with you. That's why I'm like, oh fuck.
oh yeah, okay.
Ah.
You put a bad taste. Look, gamers are one of the crowds that remembers and holds a grudge the longest. We are a very vocal audience, and it takes us a long time to forget transgressions. I'm still pissed about my 360s, plural. Um, so I think that you'll have people and companies that will try and exploit this, and they will be hung out to dry. And the interesting thing will be whether you see that, scapegoats within the company um, being blamed publicly for this kind of stuff, or whether you just see like EA is like, oh shit, we took a huge hit on Battlefront 2 because all the word about this DLC came out, and then other companies who are watching this will notice and be like, oh shit, we better not do that. The same way we didn't just hit Prey, we built up to Prey, and then after Prey, developers became scared of blatant arena-based microtransactions, and they kind of backed off of that. And then much like SOPA or PIPA or whatever the fuck iteration you want to call it, it's going to try and sneak back in an insidious new way, and it'll build up, and then gamers will reject it again, and we'll go through that cycle again. So I think it's hitting its peak now, though. So I think that it can't get worse than this. And I hope to God I'm not saying I'm wrong a year from now. I don't think it can get worse than this before people are like, fuck this, I'm just going to buy a different game.
Yeah.
I don't think bad practices will lead to a gaming crash. It'll lead to, like, if it gets serious to a point where everyone is in agreement to sort of bring out an archaic kind of way where we interact with gaming publishers and stuff like that, I think it'll lead to more like a reformation than a crash.
Yeah, I can see that's fair.
Yeah,
I mean,
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brett.
I was just gonna say, aren't we already seeing kind of the backlash where games are making a specific point to say we're not going to release a season pass, or we're not going to release DLC, or we're not going to go pay to win, or all content is included? Like I've seen people like a kind of, I don't want to say making a stance, but making a point of saying like, we are giving you all the content, period. End of story. We're not going to pull any of this bullshit. And they're using that as a selling point for games. And that makes me believe that there are some people out there, at least a portion of the audience, who have become concerned about this issue and see it as a problem. Who are going to say like,
But the problem is like what the biggest game that I remember doing that, and correct me if there's any other examples, was Titanfall 2, and that game bombed basically, But so for every Titanfall, you'll have a Shadow War, Call of Duty, Destiny 2, like there's like 5 other games that are willing to do the microtransaction shit, and then the one game that doesn't do it fails. So what does that say about gamers,
Brian, does The Witcher have any microtransactions?
No, that one doesn't.
Does it even have any DLCs?
Oh yeah.
Yep.
It
It
has
has
DLC.
2 expansion packs. There's a Blood and Wine and another one.
Yeah.
Really good.
Are there paid DLCs though?
Yeah.
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 But then there's also there were like 12 free DLCs after the game launched. And
That's right.
Yeah.
And even that, the developers came out and said, don't buy or pre-order the DLC until we've actually put it out there so that you can see it for yourself. They literally said, don't buy the season pass until you've seen the gameplay in action. So they actually deterred customers from buying the season pass. Really weird tactic.
And they also gave away a shitload of stuff. Like when you open that box, it just spills out fucking loot all over you. It's maps and manuals, and I think like a fucking soundtrack and a thank you note. I think that's really ingratiated a lot of people to CD Projekt Red, and that's why like every time, even though I've said it before, like Witcher is not my game. Every iteration that comes out, I at least give it a fucking try because I respect the hell out of those people as a gaming company, and I'm looking forward to Cyberpunk, whatever number it is that they're working on. So I would say that tactic was one of the big reasons why people praise CD Projekt Red from the rooftops the way that they do. They have like almost an evangelical following, and it's deserved. but I'm saying I'd say that approach was successful for them.
Yeah. Also, I need to point to our favorite game on MPD, right? As Death Strike puts out here, GTA 5 free DLCs all day, every day. The game's still on MPDs every fucking month, so it does work, And that, but again, that game has microtransactions too. It's like, hey, stay for the game, buy a microtransaction or two.
But it's,
It
it's
does, but
not so much. It's more of just those shark cards, but it's not like every little thing, and they don't have loot boxes.
Yeah, no, they don't have that shit. At least yet,
and shark cards are honestly one of the least necessary things. Like, I understand that some people want to buy them, but also it's like it's not that hard to make the money that you need. You're not really saving that much time. It's just for the exceptionally lazy. And like I'm okay with that kind of microtransaction. Maybe that makes me a terrible person, but like look, if I can do the same thing by like playing for 4 hours and you just don't want to play for 4 hours, okay. That's fine. That's the whole, World of Warcraft gold farming thing, and that's not going away. Again, market showed itself. There's a demand for it.
Yep. Basically, anybody else want to jump in on the market crash thing? All right. So we'll move on. The opposite end, because obviously, Tashling, it doesn't like loot crates, any of that stuff. This one is a little different. Digital Tiger 777. He says loot crates are producing nothing but fake outrage. If you purchase this guy's crazy, man. Okay, if you purchase the anti-consumer Nintendo Switch, buy Madden, NBA 2K, FIFA every year, or purchase support used games, then stop complaining about loot crates. What are your thoughts on this?
Wait,
man.
what? Huh?
Read
that slower.
Okay, loot crates are producing nothing but fake outrage. If you purchase the anti-consumer Nintendo Switch, buy Madden, NBA, FIFA every year, or purchase/support used games, then stop complaining about loot crates. What are your thoughts on that? So he's basically trying to say people who buy into those games shouldn't be complaining about loot crates.
My thoughts are that your logic is based off of very tenuous connections between things that I don't even see any correlation between. So I call shenanigans.
Wait, is this the guy who always asks us anti-consumer stuff? Like
No,
he said-
he's not. This is the he's the Sony pony. For the lack of a better term. He hates every company but Sony, yeah.
How is buying a Nintendo Switch the same as loot boxes?
Yeah, I don't understand.
I don't understand that one either, yeah.
Like loot box is nothing like it. Let's like if Nintendo sold you a box, right, and said there could be a Switch in there.
Yeah,
it could also be a GBA or a Virtual Boy in there. You don't know, and you bought like that's a loot box. That's like the real version of a loot box. Hey, you bought a $300 Virtual Boy. Congratulations. No, that is just not the same thing. I don't even understand where he's coming from.
Your logic strikes me like asking the question like, if you like oranges, then you know horses are dangerous, right?
What the fuck? Oh, man. I don't even know how to answer this question, to be honest.
I'm not trying to talk shit. I don't understand how to answer this question because I don't understand how buying a used game is the same. Like you're pretty sure you're gonna get a game when you buy a used game. It's not like you're like, oh god, I hope I bought the $20 mystery box. I hope there's a decent game in here. Oh no, it's Call of Duty from 2001.
It's like
Imagine that. That would
like that Family Guy joke. It's like, hey, Lewis, anything could be in the box, even a boat. We'll take the box.
Yeah. Death Strike says if I was going to troll this conversation, I'd bring up the buying of a console, paying for the internet, then needing to pay for the online portion of the console. Yeah, I didn't understand the question, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat right there. Jay Fonzarelli, he's very much against microtransactions. And Sean Watson, he was talking about the Xbox One X, but nobody was talking about that system, bro.
I think everybody hates microtransactions. I think that's generally
they're annoying. Yeah, they're annoying. That's why I just don't buy them.
Here's the thing, the thing is that because it's kind of turned into these sorts of things of portioning out different sorts of content. Like, okay, I understand you have the ability to buy a fun outfit that you want to buy. That's fine. But the thing is that then it becomes like a point where it's like, oh no, like everything is some sort of fucking microtransaction.
Yeah.
Well, let's pin down definition here.
Here's the thing. I can see it being. I could, you've even said it with, Brett. Well, you even said it with the amiibos. You're like, okay, yeah, I can see if amiibos are just about like getting you these little things, like, hey, look, you got a Link outfit. Hey, look, you got this. I see microtransactions as cool as that. It was just like, okay, you don't. There's just aesthetic things that you can do yourself, but then even that has been not locked behind microtransactions, like in a certain game that everybody's obsessive right now, a certain game called Destiny, where you can't even, you could buy one of those fancy, aesthetically, pleasing changes to yourself, but you can't keep it because every single time you buy a new one, it deletes the old one.
Huh. Well,
oh, go ahead.
Can I ask the definition? Like, I think we're getting broad enough with digital content that we can finally have the discussion of what is the difference between DLC and microtransactions, because I think most people are fine with actual DLC, because I think most of the time actual DLC is made after the creation of the game to help keep the development team busy between projects, where microtransactions are little hidden features or extras hidden behind a paywall. Under those definitions, I think we can all pretty well agree that microtransactions suck, but that doesn't make all DLC suck.
Well, one's a microtransaction, one is a macro-transaction. Like,
yes.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
The thing is that the way microtransactions, when we all know how this works, is that it just takes advantage of that small part of your brain that says, oh, well, it's just 99 cents. Oh, well, it's just this. And that, on top of that, compounded, essentially makes these guys shitloads of money because people are just willing to part with $1.
I have a perfect example because I've been playing Fallout. Their DLC is awesome. Their creation club is microtransaction.
Yes, and it's stupid.
It is retarded. I'm sorry. I trust me, I had the same thing. I looked at it, I was like, it's stupid. Oh, they have Chinese stealth armor. I missed that from Fallout 3. I was like, I'm not paying $4 for Chinese stealth armor. Like, I'll pay $4 for like an additional workspace, some new tools, and some other textures and patches. And I realize that there's somebody out there who's yelling at their screen right now, like, that's just fucking mods on PC, shithead. Like, yeah, I know.
It is mods on PC, but at the same, you can get a lot of those things, those adjustments to it. But then the Bethesda uses the terms that, well, they can actually direct these ones and they can actually implement them better or some BS.
Make sure that they all work. Because here's the thing. When you play Skyrim with mods, and I know everybody like, oh, you could play the mod the fuck out of Skyrim. Yes, you can. And then half of your gaming experience is fucking around with your mod load order so that you can make sure that the game doesn't crash because it gets really unstable. And even then, like, you switch out a mod or you put in a mod or you turn something off and the whole game crashes and becomes unstable. At least with this, I have the guarantee that it's not going to be any glitchier than a normal Fallout game it usually is. Which isn't saying much, but at least, it's not going to crash and burn. And as fun as mods are, like, a lot of times you're playing with fire, and I can't tell you the number of times. At least and maybe I'm just irresponsible with mods. Like, if you pull something out, you corrupt a whole save game, or you become unable to use it unless you're using these certain mods just because of a small tweak that you had somewhere, or even something that actually changes something and you're unable to change it until you make a new game. It's a headache, and I'm sure it's worth it to some people who are more PC savvy than I, but do not have the time.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. By the way, I want to give a quick shout out to Barry Burton, who I think I'm going to make our official moderator over on Twitch. He's over there because one guy was asking us, "What's the most powerful thing in the universe?" Dude, that's not a gaming question. And Barry told him that. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make Barry the moderator over there. Yes. So Kristen only has to focus on one thing. Okay. Digital.
Also, it's lasers.
Yeah. Lasers. Right.
Lasers.
He also. Okay. I'm not gonna answer this question because we've answered it like twice this year already within the last 2 months. People keep like, do you guys not watch the show? Oh,
Hey, we're the show is very topical. People don't go back; we just go forward.
Yeah,
So
I guess.
what
yeah.
is it? What is it? We need.
We're not going to answer it. We're not even quickly because we did a quick version of this just a couple weeks ago. He's basically asking us. He's basically asking us, what games do you love that everybody hates, and vice versa. We were asked that already.
Oh yeah, we were asked that.
So
not long ago.
we were asked that twice this year. Okay,
can we direct them to an episode, or do we even remember what that was?
No, just go back and check. Just go back.
One or two episodes ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. Yeah, exactly. All right.
Yeah, you can. I think you could just probably. Yeah, it's like only a few months ago, or we can just kind of go back. We put all the different questions inside of
all listed. They're all listed.
They're all listed in there so that you can find it. Sorry that we didn't answer that one.
Yeah. All right, man. Next question from my man, All Day Digital. So he goes, "Happy Broketober," because all these games are coming out, and both of these are scary game related. Questions. First one is, okay, name a scary game that was so bad you couldn't finish it. For me, it was Rise of Nightmares for the Kinect. Hey, my favorite scary game that I didn't finish was Friday the 13th on the NES. Fuck that game. Game was shit, man. All right, so that's me, Manny. What about you? Scary game that you were like, this game sucks. I'm not finishing this.
Like I said, my gaming badness of gaming is pretty good at telling what things I will like and dislike. I mean, I can name you the scariest bad game that I've ever played, which is Castlevania Lords of Shadow.
Yeah, that's scary for a different reason,
No, but I can't really name anything that I've just stopped playing because the game was just such a bad, scary game. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Before we move on real quick, give a shout out to the Game Night 123 who gives us a shout out for including timestamps on each episode.
Thank you. It's all about the little things.
Shout out to Carlos who's like, hey, yo, we could actually make this happen because we wanted to have them on there since the beginning. But it's like, this isn't kind of feasible. We found a way to do it and we got them in there for you guys. All right. So anyway, Chris, scary game that you played, I was like, yo, this is shit.
Uh-oh.
Wait, that was bad, or that
no,
was so scary
no. It was a horror game that was bad that you couldn't finish. Not because it was horrorful. That's not even a word. Horrifying, but because it was just a bad game.
I'd say Resident Evil Survivor or Dead Aim. They're shit games.
I would have included Resident Evil Revelations 2, but I did finish that, so that doesn't count.
Yeah. I finished that too, but and they're bad. But Survivor, no, they got nothing. Those got nothing on Dead Aim or Survivor.
Yeah, those are shit.
Those are terrible.
Why did you even start playing those games to begin with, though?
I don't know.
Because the Resident Evil games. Yeah, the Resident Evil games.
Those PS1 days.
Yeah.
The innocent times.
You heard Resident Evil, you're like, hey, those were really good games. Oh.
By the way, Bruno says that he likes Lords of Shadow. All right, man. To each his own.
All I'm gonna say is to each his own. The game got incredibly good ratings, but I thought that game was trash.
He has an interesting last name too, Sirigado.
Yeah, I don't even know how to pronounce that.
Portuguese or something.
Yeah,
let us know.
Yeah, Sirigado. And shout out to Mega Jack who's in there too. That game was bullshit. All right, Carlos, man. What about you? Horror game that was so bad you couldn't finish it.
Oh man, that's easy. Resident Evil 6.
Oh, God damn
it! See, I finished that fucking game.
I finished that game. It's terrible. Yeah.
Ooh, that's a great fucking answer. All right, Brian, what about you, man?
RE6. Also,
go.
I got up to like the train level, and then I was like, no, I'm done. Nope. I think that was like an hour in. I was like, no, I'm done. Nah, I can't deal with this.
I think Resident Evil 6 stopped my girlfriend from playing any sort of video games ever again because she hasn't played a normal console game since then.
Yeah.
Wow,
it was that bad.
It was that bad. She just hasn't played it. She's playing Wolfenstein and she's playing like Yoshi stuff right now, but she's not playing any modern console games anymore.
Yes. By the way, my man is Portuguese, and Carlos wants to know: are you from Portugal or Brazil?
Brazil.
Brazil.
Yeah, man. There's a shitload of Brunos from Brazil.
Yeah, man. All right, Brett. What about you, man?
I was gonna say Resident Evil 6.
Yes.
Ah!
I want to say I got 3 hours into that game and I was like, "Fuck this
Yeah, man.
noise."
Did you at least get to the part where you could make Chris Redfield ride on the slide or jump on the little kids rides in
Oh,
the
the
in
playground.
level, in the
Oh my
playground?
God.
Yeah, it was so stupid. I'm like, why is he here?
Yeah. Whoa, Chris Cobra said Code Veronica. That was a great game. Interesting.
Code
I actually
Veronica?
like Code
Yeah,
Veronica.
Code
That's a
Veronica
good
was
game,
fucking amazing. You know?
Which one was
Yeah,
that?
all I say
played
is
that
to each his
Punching.
own on that one. That's
Yeah.
I finished that one.
Which one?
Yeah.
Was
Oh,
that the
hey, we
companion one?
pronounce his name right. CD Gado.
Was
You
that
know?
that goddamn companion one?
What, what?
No,
No.
that Code Veronica was actually supposed to be Resident Evil 3.
Yeah.
No, which Resident Evil was the one where the whole game was a fucking companion quest?
Well, Resident Evil 4 had some of it.
Resident Evil 5?
Yeah, that was
No.
co-op. Yeah, that was a co-op game, and so was 6 too. I know. I guess we'll have to look into that one. Anyway, Adam.
Yeah, I'll look it up.
Yeah.
House of the Dead.
Really?
I did not like those shooters. I'm like, this is crap, and it would just get too crazy at some point. They were all about just eating up quarters, and even when it was on consoles, you were constantly restarting. You know, like continue. I'm like, can't I just play it and get close to finishing it? Oh, those are a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Oh, my man is from Portugal, Lisbon. Yeah. There you go, man.
Oh,
Fucking awesome.
all right, man.
Hey, we're international in this bitch, man. Or Lisbon. I guess that's how you guys would pronounce it over there. That's awesome, man.
No, Lisboa.
Yeah, Lisbon. How would you pronounce that?
Lisboa.
Lisboa. Oh, okay. Hey, do you listen to Angra? Just got to throw that out there, man. Great Brazilian metal band and Sepultura. You know.
Everybody listens to Sepultura.
But I think Angra is more Portuguese than they are Brazilian, if you know what I mean. Anyway, next question here.
Before we move on, was
go
it
ahead, brother.
Revelations?
Oh God. I just get an ulcer every time I hear Revelations. Revelations
But
2,
Revelations
yes.
1 is good. It's a good one.
Yeah, but with Revelations 2, you did have to escort this one chick around the entire.
Oh, the
yeah.
little girl.
That game. Yes.
Yeah.
Fuck that game.
It's pretty bad.
Again, Brett, me and Chris want to include it, but we actually finished that shit. Oh
Yeah.
my God, that was terrible.
I know. I say fuck that game because I've got like 80% of the way through, and I was like, is this all the whole game is? Is it just this fucking companion? Is it the worst mission of every video game ever? Just put on loop? Like, oh my, it's like listening to Tears of the Clown over and over and over again. And by the fourth time, by the fucking 18th time you hear it, you're like, this is all that's gonna play. It's just gonna be carnival music for the rest of my life now.
You know? All right, man, let's move on. Next question is still about scary games. Okay, name a scary game that left you traumatized. For me, it was Resident Evil 2 or Fatal Frame. Good, both are good choices there, man.
I would have to say the Silent Hill. Silent Hill it goes against everything that's in your head. It's like it's a pure fucking nightmare. Most of the main ones are just have that nightmare thing. It's like, what am I seeing? What the fuck is this? It's like a David Lynch game and a David Cronenberg game. Just David Lynch, David Cronenberg in one.
Oh,
yeah.
Shit. Deathstrike says End of Fear 2 fucked them up. I haven't played that, but Brian, you could probably attest to Fear, can't you?
Only the first half of the first one because I've not finished it.
Oh yeah.
Fucked me up. I'm like, nope, no, I'm good, thank you.
I'm gonna
you fear.
I'm gonna go with the obvious one, even if it's not the whole game, just that one part of the game, Resident Evil 1. Those fucking dogs. Oh my fucking God. I was not expecting that shit. You're going down the corridor, the fucking dog just smashing through the window. You're like,
The windows, yeah.
you know, but
Even when you knew to expect it on the second
that's what
playthrough,
I'm
it still
saying.
got you.
It still fucked me up. Although recently, Resident Evil 7, man. Ooh, that's the scariest Resident Evil game I ever played in my life, man. Fuck. And I also played like 10 minutes of that in VR. Ooh, man, I was screaming in front of the PR people and everything, man. That shit was crazy.
I
Honorable
have
mention is
borrowed,
PT.
I have a borrowed copy of Resident Evil 7 and a VR helmet. I cannot get people to play it.
Man,
People
you
are just
can't.
like,
Yeah.
nope, no way in fuck.
Yeah.
Nope. I'm like, oh come on, like you want to bitch about how the resolution is too low and it doesn't feel immersive enough, and they're like, no, fuck you, I'm not. No, just fuck you. That's not fair.
Yeah, by the way, as Manny just said, PT, that game
Honorable
fucked me up too.
mention, PT.
I remember fucking we were at what's his face's house?
Jen's place.
Jen's place, right? So it was like 7 of us total, right? And Chris, remember what I kept saying every 3 minutes? Turn this shit off, turn this shit off. I was scared like a bitch, son.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah,
scared
and we had the
shitless.
lights off and everything.
Yep.
Yeah, all of us got traumatized at the same time.
Yeah, man. We managed to beat the demo though, you know. That shit was,
You know,
and the way we beat it is totally different than the way other people beat it. It's like it's weird, you know. Yeah, like when you looked up, that little girl was looking at us like, yo, no, fuck this shit, man. Fuck this shit.
Yeah, I looked up the stairs like, no, I'm out. Done.
You know, yo, and then every time, like, you know, you heard a noise, it's like, stop, don't turn around, just stop
And then
until
I was
the
like,
noise stops. Yeah, it's like, stop it. Just thinking about it's fucking me up right now, you know? All right, let's see, Adam, what about you, man?
Damn, what was that Sega game? Sega made one where you were
Sonic?
fighting the
Sonic?
Sonic. One that where you were fighting it was like drug dealers, or I mean drug addicts.
what?
It was dark. Oh damn,
What?
they made 2 of them. There's 2 versions. It was fucking
What, Condemned?
condemned.
Okay.
Condemned
that wasn't
scared the shit
Sega,
out
was it?
I don't think that was
Sega.
Sega. Was it
of me. That
Sega?
was Sega.
Oh, shit. Yeah, Condemned Criminal Origins. That shit is crazy.
Yeah,
I think,
that scared the
I
shit
played a
out of me.
demo of that. I'm like, nah, son, I'm good. Chris.
Criminal Origins. Let me look that up. Sega.
You know,
Oh, is that the one? Is that's the one? The first person game, right?
Yeah, they made 2
Yeah.
of them. They made 2 of
Yeah,
those
they made
things.
2 of them.
me too.
Yeah. Anyway, hey, what's going on down Phoenix? Chris, go ahead, man.
I just say Half-Life, the first one. There was so much shit after that experiment goes wrong and you're escaping from Black Mesa that, like, that's the first game I played where shit was bursting through the walls and shit would just snap in from, like, lightning would crash and you'd see monsters everywhere. It's like, oh my god. And I didn't think it was a horror game. I just thought, like, oh, it's like a first-person shooter, right? You know, that game is scary when you actually play.
Yeah,
I know it's dated now.
that whole environment makes the atmosphere really, really horror like esque. I agree with that.
All right.
I would say also the
yeah.
System Shock games are very kind of fucking scary too.
I was gonna say BioShock. Like if we're talking just
The
games
first one,
that,
yeah, definitely.
games that leave you walking away going like, what the fuck? Like the whole like would you kindly thing like really fucked me up for like a good week. I was like, it makes you realize how Pavlovian you do things. Like, yeah, I just murdered a bunch of people because that's what it said on the screen, and they're like, yeah, that's the point. Did you even think about what you were doing? And you're like, oh my god,
Yeah.
oh, I'm a terrible person.
Yeah. Anyway, Carlos, go ahead, man.
Well, I think I already. Oh no, this was in another show.
Yeah.
Friday the 13th, man.
Yeah,
That's still.
did
still
that
haunts me.
did that fuck you up though?
Yeah, man. I was a little kid.
Yeah, that is true. All right.
Jason just popped out of nowhere, man. That shit left me nightmares, man.
You know the one thing about like certain scary games where it's like they're so unbelievably scary, but the world, the mystery of the world keeps you kind of coming back, and that's part of what like at least for me when it came to some of those games, like you're thinking about playing the game, but then you don't want to play the game, but you wanting to know what's going on keeps you wanting to come back.
Yeah.
And brave that world.
That's crazy. All right, Brian, get in here, man.
I did go. I said fear.
Oh, fear? Fear.
It put the fear in him.
All right. That's all of us. So let's move on here to my man Apex. Okay, this one is loosely about video games, and I'm gonna allow it.
All right.
This is for the artist here. All right, he goes to E-Man or anyone who it may concern. Your prints of game characters are always on a limited run. Is there a licensing reason for that, or does limiting quantities drive sales? I ask this because a lot of your work is your take on an already established game character. I know Brett does tattoos too, so I was wondering if there are some sort of grounds for using the likenesses of established characters in art.
Yes, that you've actually nailed it on the head. I make a lot of my prints limited to shows and online because I don't want to get in serious trouble with a lot of these companies that are out there. I've been in trouble with Epic Games before, and Adam can attest to this.
Yeah.
I made him a custom figure out of they're called money figures, where you can make them and you can paint them and all that stuff. And that year for Christmas, I didn't have a lot of money, but I had paints, so that's what I did, and I made everybody some sort of gift that year. So the thing is, the reason why because of that, I don't make all of my prints relatively available. They're only kind of cut to conventions. The Solid Zero book, I'm very careful not to, because if I were to start doing stuff like that online, I would definitely get somebody like Konami or any of those other guys coming down on me like, hey, you can't do this. This is infringing on our copyright. How much money are you making on this? Blah, 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 blah. So that's why I don't do it. And the thing is that at the visibility that I'm at, because I mean, obviously there are a lot of people that don't have a lot of visibility, but I have a little bit more visibility than most people. I work in comic books, I work in animation. So me doing those sorts of things, they would probably jump straight to me as soon as I start doing stuff like that. So that's why I'll just limit these things, have them in and out. That's also probably the reason why a lot of those t-shirt companies have limited t-shirt runs, or they try to if they do video game shirts, they make them far enough away from the original content that it, like, in other words, you look at it, you're like, oh yeah, that's Mario Brothers, but it's such a obscure reference that you can kind of get away with that. But
Amy, how does Redbubble get away with it? Because you see like all kinds of shit up there. How does it get away with that?
I'll tell you how Redbubble gets away. They don't get away with it. The thing is that, remember, everybody who logs, anybody who's anybody can make a shirt on Redbubble. You can just, a lot of what happens, a lot of these people is that they go online and they pick up an image and they just put it on the Redbubble. So, that's how that happens. And nowadays they have this little thing on the bottom that says, hey, do you have the rights to do this? And it's a little check marker. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that's totally gonna stop people from stealing other people's work or stealing licensing art and putting on a fucking shirt. But yeah, that's the main reason why I don't do it. But I think for somebody like Brett, those are personal commissions. He is not making prints of them. So if somebody says, hey, I want Samus on my arm, that version of Samus that he does is the only one in existence. And therefore, it's not privy to any of that. But if he started making prints of that specific Samus drawing and selling it online or doing, mass production of it, that's when the video games companies start getting crazy. But I'll tell you one wacky thing that happened. When I did that Gears of War money for Adam, I put up my process and I did the box up and all that stuff. After I got the cease and desist, and we sent over the cease and desist letter to Kotaku, and they printed it and they're like, oh yeah. But what happened is that when seeing this, I was getting not only people saying, hey, we really want you to make more of these, which I said, no, I'm not making any more of these. I specifically said this. The other thing was I was getting contacted from people who were just doing fan things in their own houses. One guy got a cease and desist because he was painting a Gears of War mural on his ceiling. Another guy got a cease and desist letter because he was creating one of the chainsaws from the game, which meant that Epic Games didn't have a fan creation thing in place. So their lawyers,
like George Lucas with the whole Star Wars thing a while ago. Remember when that happened?
Yeah, when he was coming down, he actually sent out a bunch of cease and desist to people just making really nice fan movies. It's also pretty much what happened to the Star Trek stuff. But the thing is that I was getting people like that saying, hey, I'm making this thing, and these fucking lawyers just sent me something about this, and people just making toys, which meant that Epic Games didn't. To that point, Epic Games hadn't had a game that, Unreal did amazing, all this stuff, but they didn't do the crazy amount of the crazy level that Gears of War did, which meant that they also didn't have something in place for fan creations. So me doing that, me essentially just releasing this sort of information, because my Gears of War made it on to Kotaku and all these different sites. But at the same time, it's like after that happened, then I got a cease and desist letter. So, but then that happening to me, and then I also got an apology for what happened. I also it got Epic to think about their fan creation policies, and that it changed things around. And I think a lot of companies in general are a little bit more laxed on their fan creation created things, but again, they still don't want you to make be mass producing these things. That's why you hear about crazy shit like Konami slamming down all those guys making those Metal Gear remakes and stuff like that. It's because those things come really, really close to being as official products that people can sell, and they don't want that. They want to be. They want you to when you go into that search engine, you search Metal Gear or you search Contra or you search Gears of War. They want to be the first ones that show up. They don't want some guy in his basement who just makes these things on his own to pop up first. So there you go.
All right, cool. And the last, go ahead, Brett. You want to say?
Yeah. Address me directly.
Okay.
Manny did hit a pretty much everything on the nose. The only thing I wanted to add is a lot of times it is about the amount of money that you can make before it is worth the whoever company you're appropriating the material from. They're going to have to set their wheels of motion. Some people will just send out letters, cease and desist letters. All willy-nilly. Sometimes they'll even try and make an example, but most of the time, unless you exceed a certain dollar amount, it's not actually worth their time to come after you.
Oh yeah, like if you're not making you're not making millions on your friggin' prints or anything. Yes, that's fine, but I don't. At least for me, I don't want to go too far over that level.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. When you make 250 prints and have a limited run of them, even if you're selling them for $100 a piece, you're making 25 grand, which is over the entire run of these things, which is probably not enough even for them to really come after you to try and take money out of your pocket. So they basically do a limited run of they do this, they print off 100 copies or 250 copies, number them, sell them for $100 a piece, and then they move on to the next thing. And that way they know that any specific piece of art that gets targeted is pretty much going to be immune from them being able to crack down, because no one thing is worth taking to court. They just do 250 of this picture and 250 of this picture and 250 of this picture, and that's their business model, so they keeps them under the radar.
And then the other thing is that you also have to remember, when you do these sorts of things, you're still under that company's good graces that you can actually do this.
Oh, I've known people.
It's well within their rights to come and say stop. They can send you a thing. It sucks to say this, but even if like if you're doing something in your house and stuff like that, they actually well, not if your house, but like it's a good situation that about this is like, there was this one place in New York City this years ago, if you guys know about this, but there was a nursery school that decided, hey, we're going to paint these nice, really, really nice murals on the side of all the Disney characters that the children love. And what happened? Friggin' Disney sent them a cease and desist and had them remove the mural from their thing. It's the thing about that sort of stuff. As fucked up as that sort of situation sounds, it is actually well within their right to do something like that, which fucking sucks.
Well, mostly because...
Which also means, like, when you go to those comic conventions and you see everybody, hey, look, it's got a Spider-Man print. It's well within Marvel, DC, and every other company that goes in there. It's all within their rights to say, fuck you guys. You're not allowed to sell any of this shit in here.
Yeah, well, the making the money is off of it. And so, like, to the people who, like, the guy was painting the Gears of War, the person painting the Star Wars, the problem was that they shared that on a site that could be viewed to be building revenue off of the content they shared, whether or not they got it. So that was their problem is, and if they would have just waited until it was done and then be like, oh, we just took pictures of this homage thing, they'd be like, well, you can't post them.
Well,
So they can't tell you not to paint your room. But I've talked to lots of people at conventions, and I've straight up asked them, how do you get away with selling just a Super Mario poster? And they say the answer is really simple. They just print them until they get a cease and desist letter, and then they make one that's slightly different, and then they keep going, because each piece is a standalone thing, and they have to investigate and notice and then send a cease and desist for every single piece of art. So they do it until they get the letter, and then they make a new one, and then they have to send another letter for the new one, and then they just make another one. They have to send another letter for the new one, and it's just a fucking cycle. But apparently they sell enough of them. Like, you sell 25 to 100 prints at a Comic-Con of Mario, you've made the money that you took, or you made your money for the time it took you to like design and print those prints, and any extra just gets thrown out.
Exactly. I mean, yeah, that's exactly it. Well, I mean, I don't wait for the cease and desist stuff. And
no,
also,
those are the scummy guys. I'm not saying that Manny does this. I'm saying, but even on the scummy side, you can just churn this shit out.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah, I don't do that sort of stuff and wait for a cease and desist. I just again, like what happened with the Epic Games thing has just made me a little bit more wary as to how long I keep these things available. So, I mean, some of these things I obviously have them on. If you ever go, if you want to go get some of my prints, I'm on Red. You can look for E-Man Land on Redbubble. You can also look for me on Society 6. And I also have some stuff on another site called T.
Greg Miller used to have one of your pictures in the back.
Yes, he did. He still has it. He still has it sitting on the side, which is the piece.
So with something like that, if it's hanging up on the background, right? Because everyone could clearly see it. Would he get in trouble for it, or would Konami come after him over that shit?
No, he wouldn't. Nobody would. He wouldn't. No, it's just something he has on the wall, and he also didn't pay for it. I gave it to him.
No, and the other thing you guys want to realize, Manny is a legitimate professional artist, not a convention print artist. Like, that is something he does on the side, but this means that he wants to stay ingratiated to the people whose works he is making fan work of.
Exactly. If for me to start, to start trying to take business from potential
employers
and potential employers, that doesn't look so good. So I try to make it small. Like, if you notice, I also, being that I work at Marvel DC, you don't see me or Kari really selling anything specifically that we've done for them.
But if you didn't give a fuck,
even that has to go through Marvel and DC. They have to approve all of that stuff, and they have to put a watermark and all this other crazy shit. Sometimes they don't approve it.
Yeah, when you start going that kind of scummy, and I'm sorry if this offends anybody, that scummy kind of like, I'm just gonna print until they just tell me to cease and desist. You make a lot of enemies, and you pretty much corner yourself into only being able to do that. You've pissed off a bunch of companies who are now never going to hire you for legitimate work, and so these people just that's their living right there, and that's fine. But Manny couldn't do that because he wants to be able to actually work for people.
Yeah, so I want to at least want to have a good client list as far as that goes. And if any of my clients ever said, hey, we don't want you to, do that sort of something, all right, that's good. Okay. I'm cool with that. But yeah, the Gears of War thing totally scared the shit out of me when it came to that stuff, because I thought I was doing something that was not, it was just a one-off. It was just nothing, and I just showed how I put it together, and somehow that set Epic Games' lawyers on fire, which is funny because Cliff Bleszinski and all those guys saw that and they're like, yeah, this is so cool, blah, blah, blah. I was like, all right. Yeah, all right. I mean, Adam sent it to friggin' Major Nelson, right?
Yeah, sent it to Major Nelson.
Yeah, and they were all like, wow, this is great. Cliff Bleszinski saw it. Yeah, this is great. And then I get a cease and desist letter.
Crazy.
So, yeah.
All right. Moving on here to the final question. This is another leftover from Mr. Gary Swabe, because he asked 3 questions. Gary, again, remember, 2 questions, bro. 2 questions. All right, so
But he loves us. It's okay.
Yeah, it's all good, So he
We're
goes,
on his site, so
yeah, right. So he goes, Tony came under fire on Twitter a few weeks ago, but like the true champ that he is, he didn't let it faze him one bit. Please give some of the insecure journalists out there that are worried about their image some advice on how to develop their own impenetrable Tony wall. By the way, the Tony wall is something Torrance coined and stuff because him and I get into a bunch of arguments, and obviously he can't sway me because Torrance has that weird logic. So he's like, "Oh, you don't fucking listen. You're building a wall." But I think for this one here, he's really talking about like how to make yourself like immune to a bunch of jabs and shit. Because if you're gonna be like not even just a gaming like writer, even artist or whatever, if you're in the spotlight, people are gonna come after you, right? That's what they do. You know, there's a bunch of people out there that probably hate their lives or whatever and shit, and they may be having a bad day, and you're their fucking target, so they're gonna come after you, right? So how do you deal against that? Go ahead, Manny.
It's funny because I warned Tony about all of this. I said, dude, you got to be careful about what you say, the things that you do, especially since you're now in a spot. You're like, fuck that shit. I'm going to do the same shit I always do. And what happens?
Yeah, exactly. That backfired. Even today, man, I wanted to roast this one Xbox fanboy, but I'm like, Tony, don't do it. So I didn't. I kept my ass out of it. So what I do, here's the thing. This is going to sound really fucked up, but I'm just being honest, right? Most people that are on the internet, even most people in life, unless I know you, you're just an extra, right? You don't really mean anything to me. You're just an extra. You're just an NPC. You're not, you don't exist to me. So it's easy for me to dismiss you because you're nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just talking about what works for me, obviously. So even though it could get annoying, my fucking timeline getting blown up, it's like, listen, ignore this shit. Some of these guys are just haters that, like I said, maybe having a bad day. Maybe they're pissed off that you're in the position and they couldn't do it because they're fucking hacks or whatever. So just ignore this shit. Just be like confident in the shit you say and the work you put out, especially the work you put out. If you're putting out good work, let the haters say what they're gonna say. That shit shouldn't phase you at all because they're not gonna get anywhere you are, But if you let them phase you, they could stop you from progressing in whatever field you want, So yeah, it's just best to think of those people as just NPCs. They don't matter. They're just names on a screen. They don't mean shit, So that's how I kind of deal with it. But I do want to bounce this question off to Manny. I know you don't get as much of it as I do, but you have had some negative motherfuckers. How do you deal with that sort of stuff?
Well, I mean, to be honest, like when I have had that sort of stuff, I usually try to, talk a little about it, about what their concerns are. But I tried not to when it comes sort of, like when it comes to some comments about my work, I just kind of just let those sorts of things slide. Like, like I posted something a print that I did for a while ago, and I was just finally offering, and they're like, this is a ripoff of this. I'm like, well, no, it's an homage. It's not. I'm not taking credit for any of this stuff that's seen on this thing. I know full and damn well that what it is. But when it comes to people like that, I try to keep, I try to keep things very surfacey. I mean, I'm not about rocking boats. I don't really rock too many boats when it comes to, and that's me in general with life too. I don't tend to rock boats, and I try to make things as palatable to the person that I'm speaking to. So a lot of my Twitter conversations and stuff like that are very much surface. It's like, I don't go out and say this is the shittiest thing ever made, or stuff like that. The only, but the way I deal with the negativity sort of thing, because then I do get that sort of stuff too, where somebody's have a random guy, this is a piece of shit. I just leave it alone. I don't, because to be honest, it's like, I always say that the internet is just a direct cycle to somebody's brain, and that's just their gut reaction as to what they're seeing, as opposed to really going deeply into it. So, and it's very easy to get angry back at those sorts of gut reactions that people have and toss out at you.
Yeah,
but I just don't let it.
I kind of want to kick this over to Brett too, because this is not for the internet; it's for real life. Do you have to deal with haters and shit like over your art and stuff at tattoos shops and all that? How do you deal with those guys? Because obviously you're facing them in real life,
Sorry, what was that?
Like, how do you deal with like real life haters at like who somebody, hey man, this tattoo fucking sucks, shit like that? Do you ever have to deal with any of that crap?
No.
Okay, actually, I'm glad you said that. You know why? Because it's real life. And that's a great point right there. In real life, Manny, you've never gotten that shit in real life.
No,
I've never gotten that shit in real life either.
I've never had a person come over to my table and say, I hate the fucking work that you do, and you should fucking retire. But I'm sure as hell I've seen that sort of thing said to people online, and because there's that wall of mystery between you and the person. You're out there with your name out there, Tony Polanco and Emilio and everybody else in here. We're all there with our names out there on the surface. But meanwhile, you have John Tron 67358 fuckhead out there who nobody knows who the fuck that guy is, and he's
trying to change that gamer tag, but PSM won't let him. So
you have those type of guys out there who are just totally anonymous, and obviously because they're anonymous and it doesn't get traced back to them, they feel that they can say anything that comes to their mind.
Yeah, go ahead, Brett, and then I've
had teachers rip down my work though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I've had teachers be like, "You'll never amount to anything." Teachers are fuckheads. I think a big part with my work is that I deal directly with my end client or my end consumer, and I take very distinct, like I go out of my way to figure out what they want, and I drive to do that specific thing. That's not something that's necessarily with all tattoo artists. There's a lot of tattoo artists who trying to upsell and sell you or do something the way that they want to, and that's honestly why I get a lot of my clientele and keep a lot of the clientele that I get, is because I don't have a problem showing people all their options, but respecting their decision for what art style they want. And I have the ability to copy all kinds of different art styles. So while that means that I'm not necessarily, some big tattoo artists, and the way to get, big and famous a lot of times is to basically do just a gimmick and stick with that gimmick. Like there's a guy who did nothing but sloths. And while that helps to get you like in magazines, it doesn't help you to be a good tattoo artist, because being a good tattoo artist is about being flexible. Now,
it's essentially it's commission work.
Yeah,
essentially, like if you're you commission an artist to draw you something, that is exactly what you kind of do. The only thing is that the difference between like you commissioning like like an artist out in some thing. He's like, you have a specific store or studio that people go to you for, right?
Yeah, and I think that extends to any kind of commissioned work. Like, I don't think you're going to commission work and then be like, you're the worst fucking retard in the face of the planet. Now, if you're doing something and just putting it out to mass, and that's the weird thing, like when people pay for something, they're grateful for it. When you just put out something for free to the internet, oh man, people definitely talk shit. And yeah, I've been privy to that. And here's the thing: for every asshole that says that they don't like something, then there's probably another asshole out there who says that they are going to like something. And one thought that always stuck with me was that I don't think that the idea of beauty being subjective actually holds any weight. I think that's a common thing that a lot of people say, but I think that goodness, that craftsmanship, that beauty are actually objective things. I think sometimes we have to be conditioned to be able to see them, but I think the fact that somebody sees beauty in something means that it's there. We may not all be able to see it. It may only appeal to a very small subset of people, but there is actually that kernel of goodness and beauty in that thing. So when people get down on you and they're the haters, they're just not able to see what's good about your thing. Take the constructive bit out of their criticism, throw the criticism part away, and walk on and try and make the next thing you do a little bit better. But also pay attention to the people who do notice the good things about what you're doing. Sometimes you don't even notice them themselves. I think that's why some bands just kind of start great, and then as they quote unquote evolve, they turn into some horrible hot shit mess. You have to listen to the good as well as the bad, but only take the good parts from each. Because every time somebody criticizes you, unless they're just like fag, there's something to be taken out of it. You can learn something from that and still dismiss them as just being a hater. But if you ever really get down on yourself, you'll find it's because you're dismissing the people who are appreciating your work and focusing in on the haters. And if you
Yep.
actually give even equal voices to both of them, you'll find out that you come out on top.
Yeah, he 100% right about that. 100% right. And the last thing is, this is a cliche now, but like a video game, the more enemies you encounter along your path lets you know you're going the right way. So that's what I've learned. Like, hey, I'm getting all these haters. I must be doing something right. But at the same time, I've also learned don't give those guys any real attention. It's like, all right, whatever, because a lot of
Yeah,
people,
well,
no matter how much, and maybe this is my fault, I try to like reason with some of these guys, right, with logic. They wouldn't hear it. I'm like, okay, some people are just set in their ways. They don't want to fucking change, or they just want to plain hate you. So it's just best to move on. But what Brett said about focusing on the good stuff, that's something that is important, because usually you'll get like 9 comments. You're fucking awesome. This is great. Blah blah blah. You're a fucking asshole. You're gonna dismiss the 9 comments and just focus on that one. Everybody does that shit. I think it's human nature, So it is good to pay attention to the more positive shit. I'm not saying like shut yourself off from legit criticism. That's always appreciated, But you can't just only focus on the negative shit, because then you're probably not gonna keep doing whatever it is you want to do,
Plain and simple, people do not know how to give criticism. People think that criticism is bashing somebody, and that is not real criticism. Real criticism is taking in all the different sorts of information and giving an actual proper presenting your what you think, what things that you see wrong with this thing in a proper way, not just say this is bullshit, you're a fucking asshole. These sorts of things don't get people to do to fix what. If you see a problem and you're replying to somebody in that sort of fashion, they're not going to be listening to you.
They're not,
to be honest.
Also, the thing that I want to point out is on top of that, some people are just emotionally retarded and they have the communication skills of a box of hair. So even when you get bad criticism, keep in mind that it could be coming from somebody who's just the equivalent of a homeschooled child. Like, they just don't know what to say. Like, you may draw a cannon and they'll be like, I don't know, man, kind of looks like a dick. And you'll be like, it's a cannon on 2 wheels. There's really not a way to make that not look phallic. But then you start to break that down, because I have this with my tattoo clients all the time. What they say is not necessarily what they mean, but what they mean is in what they say. And so you could be like, okay, so you think that looks like a dick. Maybe what you're meaning is the way that it's tilted at a 45-degree angle reminds you of the classic, like, dude standing to the side, like maybe it pings into something that you think, so maybe it's the angle or something like that. So you can kind of change that and be like, okay, maybe this is a very trope angle. Maybe it is the image isn't dynamic enough, or it doesn't have enough movement to it. Maybe it's very static, and so people are picking up more on the form than the energy of the piece. And you can kind of distill that out, like somewhere along the lines, it's not connecting. And although they can't communicate exactly why, that's not necessarily your fault. So they could be like, that looks like a dick, you fucking gay wad. You'd be like, okay, I hear what you're saying. You're an idiot and you don't know how to say it, but there might be something interesting in there. And the weird thing that happens is when you go digging for the meat of what a hater is saying, you find yourself throwing to the side all of the fucking pins and needles that come with it, all the barbs that come with it, because you realize that's just their inability to adequately convey a complicated thought. And again, I run into this with tattoos all the time, where people will come in, they're like, I like this one, but I don't like this one because this one just looks cartoony. And I'm like, the fuck do you mean by cartoony? Like, everything from like hyper rendered, damn near realistic digital art is cartoony, or something that's very flat is cartoony, or something that will tell me like, oh, this, I want a realistic flower like this. It'll be thick lines and flat fields of color. And I'm like, okay, so you're really keying in on the shape of the flower, not being kind of a geometric symbol of a flower, but actually having a more organic kind of shape and composition. Sometimes they want a very geometric shape, but with more painted rendering kind of styles. So people suck at telling you actual valuable information.
Yes.
So whenever the haters are shouting at you, just remember this is a group of people who probably by and large could not communicate anything beyond I want a bag of popcorn without running into problems.
Yeah, and
So
then think about it like this, going back to the game journalist thing. If you're a game journalist, like you probably are on a site because you write relatively well, more than most people. So if a guy who can't tell you that he wants popcorn doesn't know how to convey that, you probably don't have to worry about that because he's beneath you.
yeah, that's not on you.
Yeah.
That's not on you. That's just people have an inability to communicate, and they do so more freely on the internet because they're less self-conscious about it. Here's the other interesting thing I want to point out, though. At a certain point, I think people become icons and become dehumanized. The same way
Yes.
people talk shit about like somebody on your football team, like, oh, this motherfucker, biggest piece of shit that ever walked around. Like, they don't actually mean it. They're not looking at that person's life and being like, this person is a garbage human being. They just mean that they think you kind of suck at your job, and they're like being frustrated and taking it out on you because they think that you're a free target, because you're not a human to them. You're just this amalgamation of things. You're this character that you play, and people forget that there's a person behind that. So to a certain extent, if you're catching a lot of hate, as Tony said, you must be doing something right because you're big enough to be dehumanized at that point. You're big enough that they don't think that you're on their level, so they can just throw rocks at the monolith because what the fuck is it going to hurt the monolith? So
that's a beautiful way of putting it. Exactly. Exactly. Because we do that all the time. Chris, I also want you to jump in here because you got a lot of shit yourself, man. All this stuff. Yeah. Every time you talk about Nintendo, man, motherfuckers come after you. So what advice do you give to people about resisting that type of shit?
All right. Part of having thick skin is understanding the psychology of why we react to things like criticism and stuff. And emotionally, there's two portions of the brain that operate when you take in positive and negative criticism, and two different parts of the brain that react to it, right? So you have the prefrontal cortex, that is your kind of social center. It handles all your logic and reason and all that stuff. So if somebody gives you constructive criticism, you're like, oh, I'll think on this, and maybe I could apply this. I could do B instead of C or D, that kind of stuff. And then there's the amygdala.
Professor Chris, let me guess, amygdala?
Yes, the amygdala. Yes, that's the fight or flight part of your brain, the deep lizard brain that just tells you have to eat or run and hide or fight. And what happens is when we get personal attacks, negative criticism, whatever, things like that, that part of the brain activates. And when that part of the brain activates, we have evolved to that part of the brain has evolved to survive. So what happens? Our logic shuts down, and we have those basic options left. You fight, you flee, or you hide, whatever it is, the base emotions. So if you let that take over, right, and you react to criticism and stuff, and your critical thinking shuts down, then you won't get anything out of it. That's being thin skinned. What you have to do is realize that when you get criticism and stuff, you have to look at it in the same way you look at positive criticism. It's like, all right, let me see, is this rational? Is what this person is saying has any validity? If somebody says I'm retarded, I'll go, well, objectively, I don't think I'm retarded, so I'm going to dismiss this. Things like
I've
that.
been tested.
I've been tested.
I didn't ride on the blue bus, so I guess I'm good. It's just those type of things. So you have to approach everything you get hurled at you, whether it's praise or prejudice, and you have to absorb it the same way, and don't let your base reactions happen to you. Now, it's like you can kick in your amygdala and run if you're eating a slice of pizza, and then you hear gunfire, right? You could go, yo, shit, I got to get out of here. Let me think about these shots.
Let me ponder those shots.
Yeah, exactly. But when you get criticism, that's not anything that's physically affecting. It's not affecting your safety. So you have to pull back a little and go, I'm not having a reasonable reaction to this. Let me think on what they say. And if it's garbage, dismiss it. And if it's maybe negative criticism, but it has some weight or validity, and then think on it.
Yeah, pretty much, man. Great fucking advice all around, man.
Interesting addition I want to
Yeah.
throw into that is that any type of trauma that a person generally experiences is actually the brain being able to not being able to process an overabundance of information. And so instead of writing it into the prefrontal cortex or hippocampus areas, it actually rewrites it into the amygdala. And then that from then on, any correlation to that memory immediately triggers said amygdala response. So you
Right.
can have people who've been traumatized by random things be set off by these just very small occurrences. Like if somebody was molested while a horror movie was playing, like the sound of clown music can cause somebody to have an immediate amygdala response to whatever their current stimuli is. So you have people who, and that's the whole idea of like triggering and trigger warnings. Like you have people that will be just triggered by things, and that relates back to their own personal issue, and that's when they react with vitriol.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us, man. That was a really cool question. Thank you, Gary, for that, man. All right. No vamping here, so let's just finish it up. So thank you for watching and listening. Leave us the questions in the comment section of this episode here on YouTube or on the Coalition, and we'll answer them on next week's show. Subscribe and throw it down on SoundCloud, iTunes, and YouTube. Follow us on Twitch, Mixer, Twitter, and Facebook at Throwdown Show. Links are located in the description below. Once again, our show is Tony Polanco, and tonight I was joined by Emilio Lopez.
Don't get mad, people. It's all good. Just video games, just entertainment. We got much bigger shit going on out there. The world is literally falling in on us.
Literally.
Have fun.
Yeah,
We're literally parts of our country have been destroyed by hurricanes. We have a fucking other part of our country burning up in a bunch of fire. We have a bunch of other people going crazy because somebody said they were bad. It's all good. Video games, entertainment. That's to get your head off of that stuff. So
nice.
Keep doing.
Chris Seeley.
Hey, take care, everyone.
Carlos Romero.
347 deaths on Cuphead, and I can't beat this freaking damn cat and mouse level, man. It's annoying.
Man. Brian Manjoma.
I have nothing exciting to say this time, so just play games and have fun.
There you go, man. Brett Murdoch.
I couldn't agree with Brian more.
And Adam Vale.
But I said
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he said it after you.
Yeah, he said it after. And he said it with a British accent, so it was more important.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
he wins. He already wins.
Brian always wins, man. Just like he does in GTA.
It's like whenever Brian says the same thing that you exactly say, it's like silk. It's like the finest silk or diamonds coming out.
By the way, in that last GTA stream, the thing I said the most, like, of course Brian's in first place. Always, man. Anyway, and Adam Vale.
Well, yeah, same thing. Go play some games. Play that 2K18. Not bad.
Awesome.
Not bad.
All right, guys. We'll see you on Thursday, man. And check out all the streams as always later.
Deuces.
Hey, guys.
Peace.
WWE 2K18.